Hello there, bonjour, it's Minimaxi and welcome back for another episode of Sherlock Crimes and Punishment. It is case number 5. Now, case number 4 was very short compared to the previous ones, especially compared to case number 3, who was fantastic, the best one yet. So if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. There's a whole playlist. I divided it in 10 episodes of 10 minutes. It's great. Case number 4 felt a lot easier. It was a lot faster, for sure. So my guess is there are 6 cases in total in this game. So case number 5 or case number 6 is going to be huge, like a big complicated case. My best guess is that case number 5 right now is going to be that big one. And case number 6 will be like cruising, ending the series. Because the point at the end of the day is to get you to buy the next game, the next Sherlock game. So they want to leave you on a good note, you know, not something really hard when you sweat it for 3-4 hours. I love the case number 3 and how long and complicated it was, but that's probably not the way you want to end the whole game. So that's my guess. We will see if I'm right or not. Anyway, in the meantime, let's go and solve some crime, shall we? So, Kew Garden. What is there? Find the stolen plants. Oh yeah, there was a story of stolen plants. An unusual theft has taken place at the Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew. Holmes' investigation reveals a somber trail of deceit.
Well, Holmes, here we are at the Royal Botanic Gardens. There's no doubt that this place is beautiful. But are you really intent on investigating the theft of the plants?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so it took ages to load. So I'm guessing this is a huge level. And with lots of stuff to explore. Cool, let's dig in.
Don't touch anything else, is that clear? Just go and get a bucket of fertilizer. And without turning it over this time. Good day to you, gentlemen. How may I help you? If you are here for a visit, please do come back on Sunday.
I am afraid that it cannot wait. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. We are investigating the theft of plants that took place here 5 days ago. A remarkable collection, I believe.
So you're the one in charge, eh?
A small favor for a friend. Now, to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
I am Martin Hamish. I am the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens. And that fellow yonder is Albert. He works here.
I am delighted to meet you. What can you tell us about the plants?
They were rare and exceptional plants. We presented them at our last exhibition. We haven't removed the stand yet. It is still in the large glass house. We only learned of their disappearance the evening after the exhibition, and nobody saw anything.
No doors were forced?
No, but I would imagine that for a thief it would be fairly easy to gain entry, for there are no guards here.
Well, if you don't mind, we will take a look. Now, you say that it is in the large glass house.
Yes, the one just behind me. Just a second, since Albert has nothing else to do. Albert, show these gentlemen where the exhibition was held.
How many people work here?
Only myself, but occasionally 2 students, Albert, whom you have met, and Miss White.
Here it is. This is the place where the stolen plants were exhibited.
Thank you. Is there something the matter?
Yes, there is. All right, the plants were valuable and rare, but it seems to me that the tragedy that took place here only 2 days ago has been entirely forgotten already.
What tragedy are you referring to?
The director of Kew Gardens, Mr. Montague Dunn, he died here just 2 days ago.
We're very sorry. We were not aware. The two of you were good friends?
He was my father.
Oh dear. Our condolences. We should not be troubling you. Please do excuse us for the intrusion.
You say that he died here, in the large glass house.
Holmes?
Yes, just here, near the door to the colonial collection. He suffered a heart attack. Just like that. So suddenly. It was terrible. Excuse me, gentlemen, but I cannot remain here. If you need me, I'll be in the reserve. That's the room next to the front of the large greenhouse.
Of course, we understand.
Okay, it's already getting interesting.
The plants were here. All of them were stolen.
Do not touch.
According to Albert, this is where his father, Montague Dunn, was found dead. This sign is broken. Something heavy was dropped upon it. The traces are thinner in some places. These boot marks are fresh. It appears as though someone was dragging their feet. The footprints reveal that someone staggered here.
Yeah, someone staggered here and fell apparently.
Blood. Someone fell violently against this sign, and they were injured in the clash. Most likely a head wound. The door was smashed at shoulder height.
Somebody wanted to barge
This
in.
door handle is new. It was recently changed. The esconsson was breached near the handle. The door was forced from the inside of the Colonial Collection Room. The handle was changed afterwards.
I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection Room.
Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. Soil.
Can we take them?
It should have come from a flower pot.
No, we can't apparently.
The soil on the side of this flower shelf is the same as that on the ground.
Okay. Oh, there's something else.
Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here.
Okay, got it now. Oh, there's more tea. What? Why? Oh, there's a pot here. Broken pot.
This pot was broken fairly recently. A flower pot recently fell down from these shelves and was misplaced. All the clues around here are quite suspicious. I need my imagination to make sense of it all.
F. Yep. Knocking over the pot. Okay, I got it all. Alright, we got it now.
This reconstruction reveals a disturbing fact. Montague Dunn damaged the door of the Colonial Collection Room.
He was in a panic, or the door was locked. Was it an accident, or a murder then, I wonder? I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection Room.
Alright, let's inspect. Australia.
Very strange. Half of the colonial collection is absent. The smell is strong. It is a detergent. This broken fragment was the result of a heavy blow. A fragment of marble, most likely chipped from a statue or sculpture.
There's more.
These windows were perfectly cleaned. Part of this greenhouse was emptied and thoroughly clean. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system.
Okay, so that was cleaned. Why? Because it was blood, maybe. Perform an autopsy of Montague June. The death is suspicious. Why had he forced the door of the colonial collection room? Why had someone cleaned and emptied the room? Was it a trap or a simple accident? Yep. All valid questions. Red eyes, consumed by grief. Wept recently, okay. Okay. Not much to go on. And what about the stitch he has on the chin?
Do you work here?
Yes, but part-time only, for I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit, there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon. These flower pots are beautiful. They are intended to be used for exhibition
Oh,
purposes.
Gorisaku! Ah, something wrong with the Twitch?
The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
Is that an S, a G? What is it? That's an S, right? Please tell me there's like a secret, like tunnel or something. That'd be even cooler. Well, my man, can I check that out? No. What do you have to tell me that I don't have to ask for? Inexpensive glasses, myopic. Okay. There's dirt here. Dirty jacket as well. Gardener's hands. Okay. No ring and married. That's it? Okay.
Would you unlock the doors for us?
Do you expect to find the stolen plants there? I am sorry, but those rooms are private.
Mm-hmm.
Albert told us about the tragic death of Mr. Dunn, the late director of Kew Gardens.
Tragic indeed. His heart attack was quite unexpected.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
That's it. Let's go. So I'm searching for stolen plants. Exotic stolen plant exhibited at Kew Gardens. Plant hormones,
That is not the one.
medical herbs, exotic plants. These plants are certain toxicity and common, more or less variable. Daunida carnivorus. Do we have that one? Oh yeah, that's the one. Carlina inebrae, Florem diabolica, Prunus. Is that the whole list? That's the whole list. Yep. It is. So they have a certain toxicity. Only the first 3 can be dangerous to humans, particularly Florem diabolica. Well, what's going on? Oh, thanks Eric for the 5 months. Florem diabolica, but only under specific conditions. So Dionea, Carlina, and Florem diabolica. The first 3 are poisonous, especially diabolica. The plant should react to a process of aggression against which it will issue deadly spores. Ah, so if you bother it, it basically fights back. Okay. Interesting plant.
Here it is.
Okay, next. Symbol of broken flower pot in the backyard. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens. The glyph means divine. But in what? Well, écoute, there's nothing there, huh? So yeah, keep.
The Divine
Let's try another
Syndicate
one.
is not a supplier to Kew Gardens. Besides, there is no address here.
Divine Syndicate. The one, the God King is the Divine Syndicate idol. Where does that come from? Okay, let's go for autopsy. Oh, that's why I have to go to Scotland Yard for the autopsy. I'm really bothered by the fact that I had clues and I didn't do anything with it. That's annoying. I hope I didn't miss an opportunity or lose them.
I asked Inspector Lestrade to take Montague Dunn's body to Scotland Yard.
It's ready for autopsy then.
Are there some evidence here? Yep, seems to be. Dune's belongings, so letter. Letter to Mr. Wayne, director of Wayne and Sons Printing Company. My friend, your posters for the great exhibition at Kew Gardens are very beautiful, but it is surely unnecessary to mention all of the staff. My name alone will be sufficient. Montague Dune. Okay, so basically you want to take all the credit for yourself? Kind of.
A beautiful feather pen of a good make. A membership card for the London Crest Club.
Whatever that is.
This watch is of great value. First of all, let us carry out an external examination. There are no suspicious marks upon the chest. Let us finish our external examination so that we can proceed with the autopsy.
But I want to see if there's a head wound. There's a head wound.
There is an injury to the skull, most probably caused by the fall in the water lily greenhouse. The vessels and the pupil of the eye appear quite normal. The air from the lungs carries a faint floral aroma.
Well, he was killed in like a garden.
No redness, stings, or bruises.
Okay, so no roses maybe.
Nothing suspicious here. Now, let us examine the internal organs. The heart's blood vessels show no pathological signs. The heart tissue shows no visible pathological signs. The liver is enlarged. It would seem that he was suffering from an alcohol addiction.
Another one.
The liver tissue is brown. There are no visible pathological signs. The lungs are congested and edematous.
Oh,
The tissue on the inferior lobe of the right lung is damaged, most probably caused by toxins from an unknown plant.
there you go. Murder!
The stomach tissues show no visible pathological signs.
Why is he green? Is he supposed to be green?
There is a small amount of content. It appears that he breakfasted lightly, only a short while before his death. My suspicions have been substantiated. Montague Dunn, the director of Kew Gardens, died from poisoning. Plant poisoning, to be more exact.
You mean
Yes,
It's
it is
murder.
we should inform Lestrade?
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. Is that all we need to do?
No, we also have the people working at Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish and the son of the victim, Albert Dunn.
And the lady.
And also Miss White, of whom we spoke with Mr. Hamish. Should we bring them all here for interrogation?
No. A few innocuous questions at Kew will suffice, as well as a discreet delve into their personal affairs. Yes, Watson, it is time now to open the doors.
Even those in the staff building. I suppose that is necessary.
We should also be concerned with the victim himself. After all, we don't know very much about Montague Dunn.
You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
Cool. So, we have some deductions to do. The killer may be those who stole the exotic plants, including the deadly species, from the last exhibition. Maybe, sure. After being trapped in the colonial collection room by the killer, Montague Dunn was affected by inhaling a virulent vegetal poison. Sure? Loads of questions. Well, first of all, this one.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The Divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
Mm-hmm. Do we tell him about the death yet? Oh, no.
As Deputy Director, how was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression. Great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say? He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That
And
he had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
Okay.
what is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was.
Oh yes, he forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
Okay.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And why, he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
Jealousy?
Mr. Hamish, Can you explain to us what happened to the colonial collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am busy. I cannot be everywhere at once.
Tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before. And now all of a sudden he's trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Okay, so where was the kid? Bingo. Give me the keys.
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
I want those.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path. I have to manage Kew Gardens. And I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
That's not gonna be to the benefit of the other guy who hates you.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment, I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens.
What?
My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honor of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see.
We want to
And
manage
how
the
was
place.
his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Okay.
A book about ships. Nothing at all to do with plants. These leather gloves are new and of good quality. They do not appear to have been used. Materials for college study. They belong to Albert. This place serves as Albert's office.
Okay.
From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you, too. But...
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
What's that on her hands? Why is it red? Unmarried. Okay. Past mutilation? Poor family.
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
You're the only one that thinks he's a good man.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
Okay.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
Would you happen to know why part of the colonial collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious.
Ah, I'm gonna find a piece of the bust that was broken. Yeah, that's the one.
It is a bust of Montague Dunn. I am curious if the marble that we found... Here it is. The marble fragment that we found in the colonial collection room is what they have in common.
Yeah, so it was broken over there, and probably what was used to hit him on the head with his own statue. Hello.
We can see the interior of the colonial collection room from this window.
So we can see the interior from here, but we cannot see the interior from Albert's office. And it's gonna be Amish office.
A thesis.
Yeah.
Written by Martin Hamish.
Okay. I get where we're
The
going.
glasses case. It is empty. This area serves as Martin Hamish's office.
Okay, so now I can open the office, but I cannot go into the locker room, right?
Locked. There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory.
Gold dust? Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. Several drops. The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose.
Ah, Toby.
A phonograph used for voice recording. Remarkable.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory. I don't hear anything.
Oh.
Martin Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered marginal, yet I remain convinced that some plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish. Open.
I did it by total accident. Well,
Miss White's locker.
there you go. Well, I don't get the satisfaction of solving the puzzle, like like the jigsaw or whatever, like with the square blocks puzzle of the case 3, not yesterday, but the big one that took 20 minutes. I don't know if you were there. That was satisfying because I figured it out. But I didn't
Miss
figure out
White
anything
is a
there.
capable
Anyway.
student.
Apparently what?
Apparently, Miss White is a capable student.
Special mention
Apparently, Miss
and congratulations.
White is a
Okay, Miss Margaret is a good student.
A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents.
Dear Mother and Father, I am writing this letter with reluctance to ask you for help. My studies and my housing costs have proven to be more expensive than I anticipated. I fear, therefore, that I may not be able to manage in the long term. I know that we have had our disagreements in the past, but would you be so heartless as to allow your daughter to fail her studies due to lack of money? Okay.
These jewels must be worth a small fortune.
Okay, so why didn't she sell that? Or
A
was it
vanity
stolen?
purse. It is of high quality.
Margaret, we were surprised to receive your letter. How could you think to ask us for money after all these years that have passed since you left and without any thought of us? You have never shared with us any details of your success at the university, but you choose to do so now. We suppose you must be ashamed of us, for we are not from the same high class as your new friends. Yes, we are modest people, but you should learn to put your family first as we at home have always done, and none of us ever compromised their reputation. As it appears you have already with your employer, Miss Dune. No, Margaret, it is you who makes us feel ashamed. Oh. Okay. So they're insinuating that she's like sleeping with him or whatever, done something not very moral, right? Oh, there's more.
Miss
Okay, what
White's
did I miss?
locker.
Who's that? Alberts. I know how your financial troubles are overwhelming at this present time. Please let me reassure you that I could not permit you to remain in such a dilemma. I was born of a wealthy family. I would consider it an honor if you might accept my help. Oh, so he's the one who gave the jewelry. Okay. So why would she kill him? If he was the one helping her, that doesn't make any sense. Right?
Martin Hamish's locker.
Father and I. Why does he have a...
Father and I, Kew Gardens.
But that's not Hamish, right? Is it?
A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces.
Martin Hamish ambition. Mr. General Secretary, recent events unfolding at Kew Garden oblige me to renew my application for the management position. As I have stated already in my previous letters, I believe that no one is better suited for the post. While Mr. Montague was alive, I understood your reservation. To my suggestion, your reasons were political, and so I was happy to comply. But now, the Kew Garden lie in disorder. How can I stand by and allow it? How can I leave them in the hands of inexperienced people with no motivation? So, hence the son. I must urge you to cast your decision as a matter of urgency so that I may devote myself entirely to the noble task ahead and free my mind for this uncertainty. All right.
Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting.
Okay, so who had the expertise to do the poison or to mix the plants is the Miss White, because apparently she's brilliant at it, and Hamish. Albert seems kind of
Albert's
incompetent,
locker.
apparently, from everybody's accounts.
Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction.
Yeah,
Albert
he's really
Dunn
not
has
into
a great
botany.
passion for shipbuilding and the sea. A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College.
Royal Navy School. It is my regret to inform you that despite your excellent result within our entry examinations, we are unable to invite you to the Royal Navy School. Your father, Mr. Montague, has expressed his intention to entrust to you the directorship of the gardens. And it is clear that he would not release you from the entire year naval training. Please accept all our best wishes. Yeah, that's the one he was talking about. So, kind of pissed at his father. That gives motive. But, yeah, that gives motive. And now that if he kills him and takes over the business, then he has a job. But now that he's dead, he can go to the Navy, right? Is there a date?
Specialist article.
Is there a date on the letter? There's no date, so we don't know if it was last year or 2 days ago.
A picture of Miss White and Albert in front of the University of London.
And they seem to get along.
What? What? The two are getting along. She's getting presents from the guy. Also, she's seducing him. That's another theory. She might be just manipulative and seducing the guy to get some money. And but then she got her money, so why would she kill the guy? Maybe he was being a bit too, forward. And she wouldn't have it. Or he wouldn't have it. And he killed him to get her. And that's why he wants to manage the plant so he can be with her. And not going in a ship for a year. That makes sense as well. So we've done it all here. So I have to talk. I have to talk to Albert and Miss White about this. Okay, let's start with Hamish.
There is a bust of Montague Dunn in the nursery.
A bust? Oh, that old thing. Further proof of that outrageous ego of his.
But why in that room in particular?
Oh, I don't know. It has always been there.
It is strange, because I recovered a fragment of the bust inside the Colonial Collection Room.
Really? Oh, well, so I am mistaken. It ought to have been removed during the cleanup. This room is so small.
Do you know who moved it?
I have no idea. Surely Mr. Dunn requested it. Do you have any more questions like this? Because fragments of rock are not my responsibility.
Evidently. Mr. Hamish, was someone from your family connected with Kew Gardens?
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have no right to.
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work, for Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not helping your father?
Oh, yes, he provided the financial support. And as far as he was concerned, that fulfilled his role. But the worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father. So it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Yeah, pretty bitter. For sure. Okay, let's now ask all the questions, then we have a look at the clues, okay? There it is.
I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
You're lying.
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College rejected your application.
Ah, you truly are as clever as they say. Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly against the idea. He did his best to ruin my plans, although I almost did succeed. But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Okay, time for some deductions then. We have a bunch of clues. Okay. Albert's ambition, Albert's humiliation. Motive to kill his father. Yeah, sure. Ah, there it is. Hamish motive. Martin Hamish had a motive. He believed that he and his father lived and been ruined by Dune. Okay, so we saw that. Hamish wished to take over the directorship, but he knew that would be impossible with Dune still alive. Yes, that's his motive. So we have both motive. Albert's, Hamish, and Mrs. White. The photo when Mrs. White and Albert are together is very interesting. The breakup. My dearest Margaret, following our last conversation, I believe it might be better if you vacate your position here at Kew Garden. Oh, as you pointed out quite bluntly, you are no longer in need of my support. You are quite able to stand up for yourself in this world, as you say. Well, I give you back your freedom and wish you nothing but good luck. I don't understand. Lawyer's help. Please allow me to express my disappointment upon reading your last letter. I am paying you to defend me, not to accuse me. Okay. Kew Garden is a royal institution. We are granted the great opportunity to travel the world and to save the most extraordinarily precious and rare species of plants. Our duty is to protect such species. Okay. The divine syndicates of whom you speak have no rights to hold such precious plants. Remember the case of June 14, 1899. I need to check my archives. So I must respectfully ask you once again to notarize the permissions on these plans on behalf of the Kew Garden. The document was sent to you on Monday. See you in Boodles on Tuesday as always. Wait a second. So it's a letter of Montagu to his lawyer. Okay. So Montagu was against the Divine Syndicate. We still don't know exactly what that is. That's the one. So that's the one from the lawyer, right? No, the Divine Syndicate. Okay. Mr. Dune, we must ask you for the last time. For the return of our dear sisters, you do not have any right to hold them in prison. Are you talking about the plants? Oh, that's the symbol. Look at that. That's the symbol that was on the pot. They do not belong to you. Your so-called permissions are wholly false. You are hiding behind lies. The lie we need not elaborate. That was reported in the press as the case of June 14, 1889. So again, June 14, 1889. What you have done is quite abhorrent. Be very sure that we shall never abandon our family members. We trusted you and regret having done so. The Divine Syndicate. Okay. So they say that what was reported was a lie. Okay, archives then. But there's an archive here. I don't need to go to Baker Street.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
Personal loan. Debt of Miss Margaret White to Mr. Montague. Rental of a suite of rooms at Oxford Street. An educational scholarship at London University. Credits open at Hamilton. Radigan House Tailors and Baird & Son Luxury Jewelers. Oh, so he did a personal loan. So it's not just for free. Interesting. The smartass. So then he can go to her and say, well, if you don't do me little favors, I take everything out, or you have to repay me. Dirty bastard. 1889, right? Scandal at the Divine Syndicate Club. The Divine Syndicate Club, followers of the God King Tree One, situated on 48 Governor Street, Carlton Road, protectors of plants and more, particularly trees, are currently the subject of an administrative investigation. The leaders of this organization are suspected of financial malfeasance. It may be that this investigation will lead to charges of judiciary. Meanwhile, many voices have risen high against this inspection, denouncing the state. In fact, this private organization, which has given as its goal the defense and protection of nature, and which incorporates many persons of influence, including political representatives of the opposition party. Okay. So it's an administrative investigation. Are currently the subject of an but why? Financial malfeasance. That's it?
Here it is. And here is the Divine Syndicate's address. Perfect. It is time to find out what they have against Montague Dunn.
New address. Let's go.
This place is beautiful, Holmes. Its atmosphere is remarkably soothing.
Let us find
Wait a
someone
second.
who could help us. Good day to you, sir. My name is Sherlock.
I am exalting the sap. A while can you wait? From the trace of elements and moreover from the quality of the ambient geotropism it depends. Therefore, please, mind my gravitropism. Its balance, do not disturb.
Disturbed is most definitely the word.
There. Completed is the symbiosis. Welcomed you are. To introduce myself,
Why does he speak like Yoda?
I am the Green Grand Mystic.
The Green Grand Mystic himself.
This is me. Who am I speaking to?
We are two gentlemen who are extremely interested in the vegetation philosophy that is advocated by this establishment.
Listening to you, I am.
He really does speak like Yoda. Tattoo. Acid burn, chemical practice. Yeah, we need to find somebody else that has the knowledge or the competence to do the poison stuff. fingertip calluses. Okay.
We visited Kew Gardens, and we found your symbols on their flower pots.
Coincidence, I am thinking. They would scavenge our refuse. It would not surprise me.
It was merely an observation.
Scavenge? Why would you go to
We
scavenge
should like to take a
right
look
away?
around, to immerse ourselves in the wisdom that emanates from here.
It is a school of anastomosis, the divine scholastic syndicate for vegetation veneration and meditation. You may say, the divine syndicate. Glory to the eukaryotic. Only true devotees, those whose hearts are ready to spermatophize in sharing of knowledge, are permitted
What did
to
you say?
physically enter our vegetable kingdom and its wisdom. And to be permitted, you must earn it. Yes.
Green Grand Mystic, we are ready to become devotees and gain access to your temple.
What is the name of our Lord, our God King?
Our God King's name is Treewan, Green Grand Mystic.
Oh la, good, I like you. Here is the holy key to the wisdom place. Holy donation can you make whenever you so wish.
Thank you
Only
so
donations
much.
you can make.
I pray you to taste our fertilizer substance. From the burdens of life it helps to free.
But of course.
Raw sap, it is called. It is near the entrance.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
So we have a key. Oh, I didn't use Toby to track the scent in the laboratory. I'm an idiot. Forget stuff. Okay, let's finish this. But Toby should have come first. That sucks. Do I take Toby? I'm gonna do Toby first and then I come back here. Can I? I have the key anyway. Yeah, I do Toby and then I come back.
Let us take Toby to the laboratory. He will pick up the scent of this mysterious substance. Search, Toby. Search.
Come on, Toby. Move.
Congratulations, Toby. Now let us see what you have found. This is the bottle that was used in the laboratory. It was buried here. There is still some liquid remaining in the bottle, with gold flakes, a tiny caterpillar. Not surprising to see one in a garden, but at the bottom of a bottle. Let us determine just what we have found here. Let us pour liquid from the bottle into a test tube to perform an analysis. A colorless, water-based liquid. Quite a strong floral aroma.
Holmes? What are you doing?
It has a bitter taste.
What if it's poisonous?
Did you ever see poison stored in enormous jars like that? Anyway, there is a doctor nearby.
So what do you think it is?
It is some kind of organic compound. Let us vaporize the liquid and see what happens. small colorless crystals. Colorless, tiny crystals that are soluble in water, with a floral smell and a bitter taste. Watson, could you pass me that small bottle, please?
Of course. Here you are. Holmes, do you know what it is?
Wagner's reagent. There was a label on the bottle that you passed to me.
No, Holmes, I meant the bottle that we found.
Let me add the reagent and see if there is any sediment, and then I shall tell you. Red sediment, just as I suspected. This liquid is of organic origin. It contains some alkaloid. Most likely it is unstable, and that is why there is a quantity of gold dust to prevent contamination. This mixture is probably a fertilizer. Someone was carrying out unusual experiments in the garden's laboratory.
Yeah, and they hidden the bottle in the garden.
Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here.
Ah,
The Kew Gardens symbol.
so flower pots were swapped.
Praise the grand tree, praise it!
Oh, that's the thing I have
This
in my
must be Trewan,
tree one,
the
yeah.
Divine Syndicate's god. This door is locked, but I can try to open it.
Oh shit, there's another one. This puzzle again. Nice.
These instruments are used for smoking opium.
Drugs.
This substance is an alkaloid, the same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens. This cabinet is full of chemicals. They are the same as the ones we found in the laboratory at Kew Gardens.
So there's a link between the Divine Syndicate and what happened in the Kew Garden.
That would be enough to perform the most difficult of chemical experiments.
So they have the competence to make the poison or to do the planting. The Amish guy has the competence to do it, and Mrs. White has the competence to do it. So we have three persons or entity that are able to do that. Well, I mean, we don't know if the guru can do it. He has the installation. We have to know if somebody, if the
A
Mrs.
vast
White
amount of
or
opium.
the son or Amish ever walked in here or had any connection to this. Because for now, they don't have any connection to this. Ah, the caterpillars that were in the bottle.
Caterpillars. They are raised as food for certain plants. Let's take them.
The carnivore plant would be like this, no?
These three plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them.
We're just taking stuff. Stealing, basically. No problem with this.
A tropical plant. Nothing of interest. A tropical plant. Nothing of interest.
Alright, where are we? Had a recent disagreement. Montague was planning to release Miss White from her position at Kew Garden. I didn't see that. Yes, they were. I need to do an experiment. Okay. Alright, so it looks like it's
Perfect,
heading.
Watson. We can begin
So it's gonna
our
be
experiment.
either the sun, either Amish, either Mrs. White. But where is the Divine Syndicate in all of this? I don't see them getting into the mix, so maybe if we talk to him, he's gonna be a suspect. Let's see.
Do you have friends at Kew Gardens?
None. Not worthy there.
Not worthy. That's the one.
Nevertheless, we have seen Kew Gardens flower pots in
Yeah,
your
okay,
yard.
that makes sense.
How could they happen to be there?
What? Our sacred place you permitted yourself to search. Sacrilege.
No, really now. There was a theft of plants at Kew Gardens a matter of days ago, and we believe the pots we found here may be connected with it. Please tell us, were you involved?
No. Those plants were ours. They had stolen them from us.
Okay, okay.
How so?
Their director, Dump, I believe.
Done.
Yes, that's what I said. He borrowed from us 3 of our sisters for the exhibition at his greenfly-infested gardens. But he never gave them back to us. Excuses and imbecility. So we went in and saved them.
I see. So, if you stole those rare plants from them, then it means... Ah, I get it. Bravo, Holmes. I think the case is solved.
No, we did not steal. We saved. Well, as a matter of fact, we were unable to find our 3 plants.
I beg your pardon. And yet, you took all of the exotic plants from the stand.
They had disappeared. It was the least we could do. They stole our sisters, and so we stole theirs.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
So now they enter the equation. We're gonna have at least 4 suspects. So, Sect stole everything. The Divine Syndicate stole all plants from the exhibition, including the deadly species. No, they said the deadly species weren't there. They could have used them in order to murder Montague. The Divine Syndicate stole all but the deadly plants. Well, I don't know which one it is. Oh, but I should know. I should know because it's written on it. Wait a second. It's written on the plants. So yeah, those are the 3 plants, and I got them from them. Yeah. So, well, they stole the deadly plants. Already? What? No. No, we're not gonna jump to that, no. So I need to do experiments now.
I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on the gas mask. My word, it shot a spike at me after I stabbed it with a pin. I imagine that its reaction would be ferocious if I increased the strength of my attack.
Okay. And now it releases. Okay.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more.
Oh shit. Is that what it is?
Toxic gas with spores.
Nice.
Extraordinary. The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions.
The Divine Syndicate left the plant at Kew Garden in order to murder Montague. Someone stole the deadly plants before the Divine Syndicate were able to. Interesting. So if I change that, the Divine Syndicate disappears. Yeah, sure. That doesn't make much sense either. The knowledge of Miss White acquired at the university might not be enough to guarantee the correct reaction. Miss White had the biological knowledge. Yeah, she was quite brilliant, as they said. But no, we figured out that the Deadly Syndicate had the deadly plants. We took them. I don't understand this one. I'm gonna say sect is not involved. I'm gonna say she has the knowledge. And this was true too, yes. Oh, it was, okay. Albert is not very good at botany. It is doubtful that he could have learned how to plant. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, that's it for now. I did find out how to stimulate the deadly plants. Oh, in the colonial collection, okay. Talk to all suspects about the day of the murder. Alright.
Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
So he said 9:30 and 10:30.
Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious. Well, I was working in the seed house, taking care of Lysa something, or Lear Pontus, or... No, wait. Ah, these Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes. He came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Okay, that makes
and
sense.
About 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
And Mr. Hamish and Miss White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times. I also saw him returning from talking with Miss White, and that was at 10 minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room, and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh my God.
Okay.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon. Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can, but there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes. I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11, when I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house.
I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing in the laboratory?
I was recording an experiment for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
Thank you, miss.
Everyone has gone, Holmes. The way is clear.
Okay, so it was, I mean, all their times match way too well. Like, okay.
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well,
Okay.
it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system. The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All right, Holmes.
Oh, there it is.
Before starting the engine, the power is off. The engine cannot be started. The engine has started.
What?
The ventilation system is working. Excellent. This ventilation fan has worked. Perfect. Now I just need to...
Okay.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered the Colonial Collection Room.
Mm-hmm. So it's the office of hers, right? Miss White and Amish. But you don't see her. Well, actually, yeah, they could have conspired. I mean, it looks like all three of them, bro. Yeah, poor Watson. Always the guy who gets the fat end of the experiment. Hamish opportunity. Martin Hamish had the opportunity to stimulate the deadly plants in the colonial collection room. As a biologist, he would have understood the technicality of how to do this. Sure. So that's pointing to Hamish. That's pointing to White. That's pointing to Albert. And that's pointing to the divine shit. Okay. Got it. What? No. Can there be a scenario when Albert and Miss White collab together? Or the two of them? Or the three of them? Everybody could be freaking... Okay, let's continue. Contact Lestra in order to have Martin Hamish arrested? What? Okay, let's do it. But I didn't draw my conclusions.
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it. I'll send the lads around to arrest him.
Very good. I shall wait to hear from you.
It's gonna be some more interrogations. It's not the end. You cannot just jump to those conclusions. Like, he came, okay, from two offices, not only his office, to action the vent. Okay, he had the capacity to do it because he's the botanist. But the guys, like the divine whatever, they had the knowledge to do that. They had the whole kit as well. And maybe White had to. And we still haven't connected officially the relationship between Mrs. White and the son of Montague.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
Come on.
Holmes, my God.
Yes, we found
I knew something was fishy.
Our messing around with the ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Realized that we knew, or he
Inspector,
was
could
murdered.
you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it.
And it looked like a suicide. Alright, this is getting even more interesting then.
The mark around the neck is very visible. He died instantly.
Suicide note. Life has become a living hell. I find it unbearable. Don't deserve to die, but I cannot forgive myself for having a blood upon my hands. We Amishes seem to have always fallen victim to our circumstance, and I find myself to be no exception. I must atone, and I shall do so here and now. Farewell. Yeah, right. I don't believe that 1 minute.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case.
Oh, well, we had the trace elements near the murder of Mr. Dune, right? Or did he kill himself to cover up for somebody else? Nah. I don't believe that.
Something about this rings very oddly.
Why do you say that, Mr. Holmes?
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
But, Mr. Holmes, I can't see why.
No, I don't suppose you do. You must recall that Mr. Dunn was locked inside the Colonial Collection Room by the murderer. If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not occurred to me, Mr. Holmes.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
Okay.
Let
That
us
sounds
analyze
interesting.
the facts and statements so that we may recreate the
Okay.
events of that morning.
So we have all the statements, all the culprits. Look at the different scenarios, a timeline. Cool. Okay. So, what is that? Martin Hamish and Montague Dune went to meet Albert in the Seed House at around 9:30. It was around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague Dune went out. Okay, so Martin Hamish and Montague Dune went to meet Albert in the Seed House at around 9:30. So that's the one. The three of them go and meet Albert at 9:30. They went to the backyard after 20 minutes to 10. After 10 minutes, Dune recommended his inspection and entered the dry tropics.
Let us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10. This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful. Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room, which is quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door. More than enough time. Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
Huh. Okay, so this one. Miss White stayed alone in the laboratory after speaking with Marty. Since Montague Dune showed sign of poisoning at 10:20, White had approximately 20 minutes. Okay. He had 10 minutes. Why can it be that those two, Albert and White, are lovers, and they killed the dad, and then he found out, so they killed him? Why can't we have that? I like that a lot better than what I'm seeing now. I'd say Albert. But why would they be accomplices? Like, they don't really like each other at all. Well, it's not that they don't like each other. They have motive in common, but like one says one, other one is incompetent. and one wanted to take the job of the other. No, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, okay. She and Hamish. Alright, this makes more sense to me. Because she had a motive because he was going to fire her, right? Dune was going to fire her. She was going to lose everything, go back to her parents in shame or whatever. Because her parents wouldn't support her anyway. So she has nowhere to go. She was in the shit. And he just hated the guy. And he wanted to take over. But by killing him, the son takes over. So that's not his interest. Well, I mean, by killing him, he can claim, like his letter to the board suggests, that he has an argument that Dune is gone to take over. We saw the letter, we didn't see the response. I'll definitely go with that. Ah, there you go. She flirted with Dune's son, Albert, and later pushed Martin Hamish to his suicide. She deserves a rope. Yes. Miss White is desperate woman in debt, resigned to consorting with wealthy gentlemen. When Dune cast her aside, she killed him in desperation. Yeah, that's no excuse. That's no excuse. You came for the money, you didn't get it. No reason to kill the guy.
But Holmes, how can you be certain that we'll find Miss White here?
It is obvious, Watson. Just use your brain.
I am using it. I do use it.
Now that the rope has tightened around Martin Hamish, Miss White must act to erase all traces of her implication.
So the plan.
After the suicide of her accomplice, there is one final trace remaining. The deadly plants of the Divine Syndicate. She will be there.
Very good. Shall we go?
Just one moment. Now listen to me, Watson. I shall see her alone. You will conceal yourself behind her, quietly.
Whatever are you planning?
Nothing spectacular. The impulses of women have always been a mystery to me. But she is a bold one, and so we must be cautious.
All right. You can count on me, Holmes.
Yeah, she's there.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised, Miss White.
Well, I was expecting you.
Not for too long, I believe. So please tell me.
She's gonna try to kill him.
Unclear.
I'm gonna have to have reflex again. Like with the sailor.
You were wrong, Mr.
You bet?
Holmes.
It was Martin Hamish, then. You managed to convince him to take on a more prominent role.
You could not be further from the truth.
You think that you can fool me?
You don't care what I think.
It is difficult to care about someone who is capable of pushing a man to his suicide. It is over, Miss White.
What was the
police
button?
will
Was
be
Z,
here any
right?
minute.
For the sailor.
Over.
So I expect it to be Z again.
One moment you were
To defend
here,
myself.
and the next, you were on the other side.
The other side? No! Stop!
Told you.
I beg you not to do this, Miss White.
Don't come any closer.
Please remain calm. We can help you.
Not one step further. Don't try to stop me.
Stop this foolishness. You cannot truly want to die.
No, it's too late.
Oh no! Did I have to click? Shit!
This is tragic, Holmes.
Are you able to do anything?
I'm afraid not. The poison has been fulgurating. Her heart stopped instantly, poor child.
Shit. Can I replay the ending and save her? I want to ask more questions.
No, it's too late.
And it's now.
Well done, Watson. She was not faking.
Miss White, you have no right to take your own life.
Dr. Watson? Did you just save me? Or worse?
Okay. So we don't learn anything else. Miss White is a dangerous woman, very capable of carrying an elaborate murder. When she realized that she was unable to make any further monetary gain from Montague Dune, she advanced her affection to Albert's son. Yeah, she was the one who locked the door in Colonial Collection room directly after Hamish released the caterpillars and then pushed Martin Hamish. So yeah, basically it's all three of them. Yeah. Okay, so that's gonna be most of the people that found the same, right? 92%. And some people just absolved her. You can absolve her. There's no excuse. She came for the money. She got played. Hey TDH, what's up? Are you going to waste 1 point? Why are you going to waste points? Oh shit! You know what? For the last case, I'm gonna do in the middle of the case. I'm gonna do predictions. Hey. We should do predictions for the last case to see if you get, well, the right thing, because I'm going to check the actual correct answer for the last one. Anyway, that seems like the correct one. A half moonwalk? What is that?
Where are you going, Holmes? Have you been invited somewhere?
We have been invited, Watson.
We have. Where to?
To the Baker Street Irregulars' annual dinner. They sent us an invitation. It is on the table.
A dinner? How could those street urchins afford anything like that? I can't understand your interest in them, Holmes. They're dirty. They wouldn't hesitate to steal your wallet.
Watson, you should be excited. It is a secret dinner. Its location changes every year. Read the menu. Sounds mouth-watering.
All right. We, the secret police of Baker Street, invite you, Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Watson to our annual dinner. Menu, entree, frozen rat-head salad. Is this a joke?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. Pray continue.
Main course, sow's udder in Danny Nutcracker's way. Sounds disgusting, Holmes. Hedgehog goulash. Street turnips in homemade juice. And it goes on.
I can hear them on the stairs now.
Well, we can't go there. We can't eat that.
Watson, you'll hurt the feelings of those poor children. We have to go.
Oh, Mr. Holmes.
It is fine, Mrs. Hudson.
Mr. Holmes!
Wiggins, Dr. Watson is getting ready. He will be delighted to join us. You don't look well, my young man. Is there something wrong? Don't tell me the dinner is cancelled.
Mr. Holmes, it's my brother Leighton. He's in a prison cell. They say he's killed 2 men. You have to help us, Mr. Holmes, because I know he didn't do it.
Where is he now?
From what I've heard, they took him to the yard, and they gave him a good beating already. You know what they're like. They'll hang him. They won't look any further.
Holmes, we have to help him.
Well, and forget about the dinner. Wiggins, I'll take the case.
You're fantastic, Mr. Holmes. I'll be waiting for you at the crime scene. You'll be there, right? It's on Half Moon Street in Whitechapel.
Very well.
So that's it for case number 5. It was interesting, to say the least. It was complicated, but not as intriguing as the case number 3. It was longer than the 4 for sure. I have no idea what to expect for the 6th case. Well, just with the little introduction that we just got, but I really don't know. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. Last case, and then I will check the correct answer, especially for the first 2, because I believe I made the wrong choices for the first 2. So I'm gonna check that, and we're gonna play the little prediction games as well on the last stream for the last case tomorrow, and see if you can deduct, well, same as me, better than me, or worse. That'll be interesting. All right. See you then there.